Now let's talk about one of the biggest problems that you'll often find at the youth levels or the lower levels, whether it's softball or baseball. What I call ball versus me, okay? The fear of the baseball, that's what I'm talking about, or the fear of the softball, that's what I'm talking about. That fear of, you know what, this thing being propelled at me could hurt. And quite frankly, at times it might. And that's one of the things we've got to get through that fear. And it has to be practiced. I think it can be a learned trait. It doesn't have to be natural. You'll find young girls and young boys all over this country or all over this world that are, quite frankly, not afraid of the ball. But you'll also find nice young athletes that are afraid of the ball. So how do we get there? How do we get to that point where they're not afraid of the baseball or softball anymore? The things that we'll do at Knox College is we'll grab Nerf balls, we'll grab tennis balls, we'll grab Incrediballs, and we'll put them in our batting practice buckets. And as we're doing short toss or underhand toss, is that when we grab down and grab that tennis ball or Incrediball in this drill so that it looks like a baseball, is what will happen is we'll throw it at them, okay? And we'll want them to practice protecting themselves from that ball hitting them. And one way to get there is this, is as you take that stride and you notice that that ball could frankly hit you, what we want to do is put our whole backside to the baseball and eliminate the surface area on our body in which we could get hit or hurt. And the first mistake that's made is, when I say ball versus me, is this, is open up to it. If you'll notice, my head, my torso, all right, are open to the ball. I could really get hurt right here, okay? It's going to cause some damage. What we want to do is practice, make it a learned trait rather than an instinctive trait, where we turn away from the ball and create a situation where our heel, our calf, our hamstring, our buttocks, our back, and our helmet are to the baseball. Now, young boys and girls, I know, you know what, that hits in the ribs, it's going to hurt. But I promise you back here, where you have more muscle layer, where you will be hiding your rib cage a little bit more, all right, and we all know this is a little softer back here than other areas, that is going to allow you to play the next play rather than opening it up to your core and taking one on the ribs or right on the old schmush, as we like to say. So we practice that. We take those balls and make sure they turn in. Make sure they're turning in. If there's a large hip slide, if there's a head tilt, if they are in a weak foundation, you're going to find that your young hitters, softball and baseball alike, they're going to be opening up to the pitcher rather than locking into the pitcher. That what happens is this. That's when they're going to be in a bad situation. If they get hit with that Incrediball a couple times right here, they're going to find themselves staying back and going from there. Now, from that ball versus me, once, and hopefully everybody creates that fear or gets rid of that fear, we always want to respect the baseball, okay? Because the baseball being propelled in baseball at 90 miles an hour or 75 miles an hour from 45 feet in softball, it can be dangerous, okay? That's why there are protective helmets nowadays, and that's why Barry Bonds and the like wear all that Under Armour or that big old gear on their elbows or on their feet or whatever the case may be. It can hurt, but the thing we want to do is respect the ball. The thing that we want to do is learn from the pitcher that's pitching against us. How do we create that? We find release point. Instead of reading the bubblegum wrapper or talking to our buddy in the dugout, we're following the pitcher, we're finding that release point, so that puts us in a better position, in a state of mind, a more comfortable mental position, so that when we get there, we know exactly where the pitcher's releasing from. We know exactly, because our mind has trained us to find that release point and know that, you know what, if this release point's over here, you know what, that ball might be coming to me. And it's going to create a situation of not necessarily comfort, but a situation of, you know what, this doesn't look right, I better hide myself and get out of the way. It can be a practice trait rather than an instinctive trait. Now, as we get rid of that fear of the ball, as we've been hit by it before and we survived and we got to run to first base, and we got the reward to steal second or come home and score a run, once we get over that fear, you hear coaches talk about, let the ball get deep. What does that mean? Well, oftentimes young, good, aggressive athletes will want to hit the ball so far out in front of them that they end up casting the bat or they end up missing the ball because they're so darn early. What we like to teach at Knox College and what my father used to teach me was try to catch the ball with your back hip and or your back knee, which will allow the ball to travel farther to you so that as you create your swing, as you get rid of that fear, you're going to allow it to come in, to get down and through the ball, and as you catch it on that hip or catch it deep on your knee, you're going to have the proper swing path to allow the ball to get deeper rather than all the way out front. If you notice, as I catch the ball deep, I'm in a bad power position. I'm in a weak position compared to, woo, now there's a strong position. Try to take that bat out of my hand, I'm going to hit it hard. When coaches talk about catching it deep, letting the ball come to you, wait on the ball, okay? You'll hear that oftentimes at a lot of Little League baseball and softball parks. Wait on the ball, Alex, let it get to you. What they're really trying to say is, let it get deep so that you can catch it at its optimum point, okay? My optimum point with all our young hitters is this. Take that right hand, take that right hip, and have somebody throw that ball to you and try to catch it right at your hip, right before your hip, right before your hip, right before your hip. And then go ahead and put the bat in the right hand and go ahead and try to catch it with your left hand, right in front of the hip, right in front of the hip. Are you going to be successful every time catching the ball? Probably not, but that's not the point. The point is you're training your mind, you're training your body, muscle memory, to catch the ball deep, to allow yourself to make contact at the optimum point, which is within the power V, which we have talked about. So, as you get rid of your fear of the baseball, but always creating the respect for the baseball, as you learn to roll into the baseball so that if it does hit you, you try to limit injury or you reduce the surface area in which can limit injury, you start allowing the ball get deep, and you'll be on your way to becoming a better hitter on your softball and baseball fields, because now you're allowing yourself the area in which you are going to maximize, the area in which you are going to hit the ball at the proper maximum contact point.